Welcome back, YouTube. Part 2 of the lawn thrower build. Last night, me and my buddy got the steering figured out. We took the original pieces from the sled and drilled them out and put a 3/4 inch shaft in there. And got these new rims with 3/4 inch bearings in there. And then just put the original steering back together again for the snowmobile. So now we have steering. Just like the snowmobile was. Now we're starting to work on the rear end here. We're going to get these fenders all mounted up and the back built. I'm going to use the leftover part of the tunnel to create the back section. And the new axle came in, the hubs, and then I got my new tires on it. Those are 20 by 10 by 8s. And the whole thing measures 43 inches long now from center to center of axle and 42 inches wide from outside tire to outside of tire. Well, I'll bring it back when something interesting happens. Alright, so we got the back of the tunnel here all cut up. You can kept the little hitch. You can see we got this all lined up. I kept the support pieces all in here and cut the chassis around it. And I will have to, I wish I would have left this tab on here and extended it past, put a couple bolts in here, but oh well. So be it. You can see how nice all that is. We just got 4 bolts in here for now. Eventually this will get welded together. It wasn't until we got this far that we realized that we can use tin snips to cut this tunnel. It cuts really nice. Yeah, we even were able to keep the badge. It's going to be a permanent part of it unless we paint over it on accident or something. Alright, bring it back when something more interesting happens. Alright, this is what it looks like with the new tires on it, new axle. Got trailer hitch and everything. We're going to be able to use these bolt holes right here to put our wheelie bar on. Like that. Get spaced out a little bit. Something around like that, and then it'll have the ability to adjust it up, or it'll probably go down as far as that. That'll probably be it. So they give you about a 2-foot wheelie at the lowest and 47, 48 at the highest. This thing is standing right up. Actually, it'd never be able to reach 48 inches. It doesn't have a 48-inch wheelbase. It might 40. So it's pretty high. Well, I got the fenders on for the back part of it, at least mocked up a little bit here. I got my seat mounted and it's actually got suspension in it now. We still got to make the adapter pieces to be able to hook those back up again. And we're going to push the running boards forward a little bit more, and then we'll build some bars that'll go around the front there for your foot pegs. I'm working on getting that mounted. And this is how the back end of this thing turned out. Mind you, it's still going to have wheelie bars and stuff like that, so being so flat and bland doesn't really matter when there's going to be big bars and stuff hanging out the back. This thing's really starting to look mean. Alright, I've got her jacked up at the moment. So you can see, I just got done installing the axle. Everything feels good. We're going to run 4 pillow block bearings on it just for making sure nothing fails. Really hate to have something fail. This just gives it extra support so that it's less likely to have bend going on in it. It'll also help stop this from getting bent. Ideally, if you really wanted to be proactive, you'd build a spacer block and space this all the way out to the end right against the back of the hub. And that's going to give you your most strength. So next up, what we're going to do as far as drivetrain goes is I've got a 46 tooth sprocket. Got to make a hub for it yet, and that'll go on there. Then I've got a 13 tooth sprocket here that will give us a 3.5 to 1 ratio, and which should be pretty good. Calculation on my 20-inch tires down to that 6-inch sprocket that used to be here gives me a 3.44 to 1 ratio of what the difference is. You just take the old drive sprocket. This was actually the cog that would turn the track. So essentially, for every inch of movement you had on the tip of this, the track would move 1 inch back. Whereas with every inch of movement you get out of a tire, the tire has moved 1 inch along its tread. So you calculate the circumference of your tire, the circumference of this, and you take your tire's measurement and divide it by this one, and I got 3.44. So then we will be we're going to tear all these wheels off and stuff. I might even cut this off, I don't know yet. We're going to take this 13 tooth and put it on here. And then this will get reinstalled up inside of here. Then we will run a chain all the way up to the sprocket here. And then I'm going to take advantage of this bar and make a spring-loaded tensioner that'll catch on the bottom side of the chain, because the top side is in tension, the back side, it's going to be in tension, but not nearly as much tension, because it's not going to have the driving force pulling forward. So if you put your idler on the top chain, you're probably going to skip a tooth, versus if you put it on the bottom chain, in this case, it's going to work a lot better. And then I might even end up using one of these arms and then putting the sprocket on like that, and then I can take advantage of this big giant spring to hold tension up on that chain. And then the other side of this will go through an eye bolt and then probably pop up underneath the frame somewhere, where I'll be able to tension up that eye bolt, and it'll put more and more tension on that spring, which will put more and more tension on the chain. I did that versus making these bearings movable because I've had problems in the past of putting big engines on things and then it slides the bearings around. Which you can make a flat piece of metal with a bolt welded to it through a piece of angle iron and then have a nut on there to pull those bearings back. But this is just easier and it's going to look better, and I think it's going to work out good. And the bonus is, right now the exhaust, it will be blowing almost directly on the chain, and being a two-stroke, it blows oil out, so it automatically oils the chain. Just as a bonus. And then as you can see, we got a brake disc here. Mind you, it does have a front brake disc up here, and this one is hooked up to the handlebars. But I want a redundant brake because we've got this brake on the back side of this clutch, but there's a chain inside of here. We got splines on a spline shaft inside of here. Then we're going to go over to a sprocket, which is going to go through a chain up to another key, and all of those are big failure points that could possibly happen. And so if that happens, you're going to lose all of your braking force, all of it. You're going to be able to stop the drivetrain, but that doesn't matter if you don't have a chain. So we're going to have a backup brake back here that I'm going to use this fully mechanical brake on, which is conveniently going to space it out just about if I put it on top of there. And then this just needs to this lever will need to get pulled on, which will be done through a linkage, a rod that'll go from here, somewhere in here, and it will come up, and then it's going to bend and go up through this shifter pattern, where I'm going to grind all these teeth off and turn this into the drag brake, into the drift brake. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get these tires put on. I'll get it lowered down and I'll show you what everything is done so far. Alright, got her set back on the floor here. Got her mocked up for pictures at the moment. So, got these, start here. Got these spacers put in. These were actually out of a snowblower. So, keeping in theme with the snowmobile and lawn equipment, snowblower. And so then that extends these together so that we can get our gaps. There's a gap there, and that's all it needs. There's no suspension in this system. The only suspension is in the seat. So it'll ride rough, but oh well. We'll air the tires down. So got both of those ones done for the fenders. This one might need a little bit of adjustment. This is definitely a little bit bigger up here, but we'll get stuff adjusted. Back here I got that patch panel put in, and eventually I'll weld a bead down either side of this and then blend these together the best that I can, and hopefully it should look pretty good. We got our hitch, and now you can see we got our wheel bearings in there. This thing is not going to turn very well, being that it's not only live axled, but got massive tires, and it has almost no front end weight. This whole thing, I don't know how much it weighs, but I ordered a scale so we can find out. Very curious. I got this mocked up right now. I'm going to build a shroud that'll go around all this stuff and then catch these bolt holes. And then it'll just have a little pod filter sticking out. I've still got to make some covers for all this. I'll do some nice stainless covers or something like that. Maybe some aluminum. I don't know yet. I do want to, right here in the middle, where the steering wheel used to be, that's where I'm going to put the speedometer from the snowmobile. I'll be able to hook that back up. My grandpa's got another one of these sleds, and you can see I got the piece right there that will ultimately go on the end of the shaft, and then I can hook that cable back up and put it right there. It'll look really good. Plenty of room behind there, shouldn't interfere with anything. We're going to reuse the original mower choke. I do intend to twist grip throttle this. I just don't like the thumb throttle that much, especially not on a lawnmower. Be a lot more fun with a twist grip. So if we go down here, you can see, yeah, these axles are long at the moment. I've still got to weld these all up. I'm going to have to do all kinds of welds in here and build this all up nice and solid. Also, there's no front suspension either. Just air the tires down. I got this cut off in the front, and then I intend to put this bar up here, make a nice little bull bar. Keeping in the theme of lawn equipment, that is the handlebar off of a lawn vacuum, an old one that was junk. And we got this one is long as well. I'm gonna use these pinholes and pin these tires on, I think. That or I'm gonna end up bolting them on, I don't know yet. These bearings aren't preloadable. They slide on, that's it. So I'll figure that out in the future. Yeah. Also got this bar all solid mounted now. Made some little brackets. Here, I'll flip the seat up. As you can see, everything's all bolted in here now. Made some brackets that come off of the seat bolts and come up and support those arms. These were the old wheel hubs off that lawn vacuum as well. They held the wheel assembly together. And then we got the springs, which I think I'm going to double these up or so. Find some more of these lawnmower seat springs and put some more in here. Give it some more suspension. Right now you can bottom it out pretty easily. I'd rather have it a little bit stiffer. Got this all set up so now you can actually lift up the back of the mower off of that. And then you end up leaning on this a lot. So that's why it's padded. can see. There's a good, inch and a half of movement in that. And knocked my piece off. There, none. I can open the hood now. We are going to put a big heat shield in here, and then we're going to locate the gas tank and the oil bottle up here in the front. And then that'll all get plumbed back into that carb. And that's pretty much where we stand right now. Still got electrical to do. I got to do sprockets so I can get the drivetrain running. I got to do the front spindles. I got to go out to that other snowmobile and get that air cover shroud for that, for the top of the motor. And eventually we'll do exhaust. I still got to mount this up and do the speedo. I still got to do the brake, which I found a nice, cool, old handle that I'm going to use for my brake lever. I think that'll be pretty neat. I don't know what this is off of, but it's probably off of a mower if I'm honest. So yeah, that's going to conclude part 2 of the lawn thrower build. Thinking I'm still going to end up cutting a hole in this hood and dropping this down a little bit more, just so I can get this hood closed the rest of the way. It still goes a little bit farther back. You can see she's not on the bump stops yet. Alright, that's going to do it. Make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. This is Crazy Builder 141 signing off. Have a good day.